We had fun last week here inside the Unified Media Lab, so we're back here for week 2 with Facebook Live here with Ball State Sports Link. Switching over to golf this week, head coach Mike Fleck with us, Johnny Watts, and Michael VanDeventer is with us as well. Guys, you just got back from Notre Dame, a third-place finish. How are we feeling after the successful weekend at Notre Dame?
Pretty good.
Yeah, no, it was a successful event. Going into it, with the caliber of the field, I was kind of thinking, top 3 to 5 finish would be pretty good for us, and fortunately we were able to play well and consistently lower our scores and finish in the top 3.
Johnny, you finished 4th individually on the weekend, and obviously a good team effort going from 6th on Friday up to 5th on Saturday and then 3rd on Sunday. How much of a groove did you feel like you were in this weekend at Notre Dame?
I felt pretty good. I mean, I think our whole team was staying together this week at one of our teammates' house. So I think just everybody staying together really kept everybody loose, and we all had a lot of fun with it, so we were able to see success.
Michael, for you, a 9th place finish this weekend at Notre Dame. What was working well for you out there on the course?
Yeah, overall I played really solid. Did a lot of little things well, but just unfortunately had a few big numbers that kind of kept me from having a really good finish, but yeah, overall, very, very positive.
Now, Coach, as a team, you guys have seen steady improvement from the start of the fall season, your 3rd place finish being the best. How have you guys been able to improve so drastically since the start of August?
It's just working hard and being committed to the process, I think. I've been, pretty critical of these guys early on this fall, and we played in 2 tournaments that were pretty challenging to start out with the quality of the field and the golf courses, but we kind of come back every week and we go to work and we work a little bit harder and more, diligently on the things that we need to improve on. And, I think these guys have kind of embraced that over the last few weeks, and it's, kind of starting to show in the success that we're having.
And you guys as juniors, you guys are kind of the leaders. This class is kind of the leadership core of this golf program. How have you guys been able to move along the younger guys and see the steady improvement with the team throughout the fall so far?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's just kind of leading by example, showing them the right and wrong things to do, how we go about things, and just trying to set a good example constantly for the younger guys.
And Johnny, for you, of course, you bust onto the scene as a freshman, winning the Mid-American Conference title as an individual golfer, going on to the regionals. How has that experience from being in the mix early on helped you now that you are a junior and moving into being an upperclassman?
Yeah, having that experience definitely helped me get a taste of what I want in the bigger picture with the entire team. Being there, seeing everything. It was cool being there individually, but it would be even more fun with the team. So I've been trying to really push these guys and really kind of get everybody on the same page to hopefully make it back there with the whole team. What have
you shared with the guys about your experience there to motivate them to potentially reach that stage?
Really just, it's kind of just it's tough to describe. It's the feeling that when you're there, like, okay, I've made it, I'm on this bigger stage. And I think, it's hard to describe. It's really tough to put in words just how cool of an experience it is. But we're starting to see success, and I think that's really helping everybody realize that we can achieve our greater goal of making it to a regional and even to the national championship. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, Coach, kind of piggybacking off of that. You said like the feeling you get when you're in contention. We've had that a little bit, the 2 of us individually, and now the team's starting to progress too. So hopefully everybody kind of embraces that, and you realize how much fun that it is to be competing to win tournaments, and hopefully we can keep moving forward.
Obviously, a very long season before you go into the spring with Mid-American Conference Championships. But how do you guys kind of use the winter when you do have that big gap to start working toward those goals of a championship in the spring?
The off season is kind of a time where you can, if like there's a change that you want to make in your swing, you have time to do that, or you can just spend it, trying to refine the little things and stay sharp. And then we can also play tournaments individually if we choose to. So you're staying like in tournament golf and that mindset and everything too. So,
Coach, how do you use that time to evaluate? your team?
It's just kind of going through some of the numbers from the fall and kind of breaking it down a little bit and trying to find areas of improvement that we need to work on. I mean, it's not much of a break anymore these days. We play into November. The guys go home for Thanksgiving break, then they come back for a couple weeks and then take off for semester break, and then we start back up in early February with a match play event. So, when you kind of look at it from a calendar perspective, these guys aren't down more than maybe 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. So it's just kind of analyzing, like Vandy said, kind of working on things that you need to work on to make individual improvements and just kind of get ready for the spring season.
So you have that long gap in between the fall season and the spring season, but then here with the next 2 weeks, you guys have a little bit of time off after back-to-back weekends of competition. When you're in season, how do you make adjustments tournament to tournament?
It's kind of like what Coach said, but you analyze the last tournament, find things that you need to work on. So say your putting wasn't what you wanted it to be, so you can spend a lot of time working on putting drills, or if you weren't hitting the ball well, you can work on that and just kind of picking out the biggest weakness from the previous week and trying to get that up.
Now, both of you guys have seen steady improvements from your freshman season. Your strokes are down about 2 strokes apiece from your freshman season averages. What has been the steadiest improvement for each of you?
I think it's just kind of getting that experience and getting used to it. Now, I feel like when we play well, we know how to maintain that. And that's not to say we're not going to have any slip-ups ever, because you always do. But, just gaining the experience and learning from every tournament that we play, it kind of helps us.
And Johnny, for you?
A lot of it for me is kind of taking pressure off of yourself, knowing that it's just a game and we're out here to have fun. I mean, a lot of the time we forget the reason we're playing the sport in the first place, and it's because we love the game and we want to have fun with it. So I think a lot of it is when you realize that you're playing in some of the really cool places of the world, and really just having fun with it. I think it just takes a lot of pressure off yourself, and you're able to play better.
What's the coolest place you guys have been?
Hawaii, without a doubt.
Definitely Hawaii.
Yeah.
You guys will go back there in a few weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, looking forward to
that. What's the best part about Hawaii?
Everything.
Yeah, it's hard to pick one thing. When you're playing golf and then you look out and you see the ocean and then all the other islands, that's kind of hard to beat.
Is it just like the movies, or is it a little different than the stereotypes?
Pictures don't do it justice.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
You guys surf at all when you're down there?
No.
Unfortunately, no, we didn't last time. May have to try to schedule that this year.
Coach probably doesn't want that though, right?
Yeah, we'll see how the golf goes first. one thing at a time.
Coach, with these two improving from their freshman year all the way up to now they're being in their junior season, what has been the steadiest point of growth for each of these guys?
Well, I remember having a conversation with both of these guys a couple of years ago when they were joining this process that this was going to be their program one day, in terms of leadership and ownership and kind of taking that role, and they've both embraced that, and when these guys play well, they're two of the more elite players in the league, and I really feel like with the other 3 guys that we have right now that have been competing a majority of the time, if they play well and they complement these guys, we have one of the best teams in the league. But the challenge week in and week out is to get 4 or 5 guys on the same page playing well, and we did that at Notre Dame. Up to Notre Dame, we had our fair share of really good rounds, but it seems like we'd always have 1 or 2 guys that kind of were off a little bit, and for us to have the success that we want to have, we need 4 guys on the same page, if not 5, and Notre Dame was a great example of what these guys are capable of doing if you have contributions from all 5 guys.
Johnny, of course, this is an individual sport, but Coach mentions leadership and having a cohesive feel within the guys that you put in the lineup each tournament. How have you evolved as a leader since your time as a freshman?
Really just communicating to everybody that we're playing for each other. I mean, Coach always tells us, if you're on the golf course and you're standing over a not-so-good situation, just think about your team and where you could save shots for all your teammates, and just knowing that every shot matters. And I mean, just really communicating that to the team, and just having everybody being so close, it makes it so much easier just for everybody to play for each other.
And Michael, for you, how's your leadership evolved?
Yeah, it's kind of just being a guy that's always there for them, and being somebody that they know that they can count on. if they're not playing well, I'm going to do my best to have their back and try to pick up the slack for them, and then likewise they can do the same for me. So just trying to keep everybody accountable and, again, leading by example too.
Coach Fleck, we talked about the challenging tournaments you put your team in early on in the fall season. You go from 12th to 11th to 7th and to 3rd. Have to feel good about that, but what's the next step? Where's the next improvement come along?
Well, I think it's just continuing to build on that. We can't control the quality of the field and what the competition's doing week in and week out. I do try to set up a schedule that challenges these guys at a national level, and it's simply from the concept that if we want to get back to where we were a few years ago, we got to go down that road. And so the goal is just to kind of continue to come together as a group, continue to play for each other. Johnny kind of hit the nail on the head. It's all about saving shots, and one shot here or there, can make a huge difference, collectively. So it's just kind of continuing to trust the process, keep working hard, and going out and doing the best that you can do.
You mentioned getting back to where you were a couple of years ago, 2014, the last Mid-American Conference title for you guys. With this team, what characteristics are kind of shared between those two teams?
I see a lot of similarities. I mean, these guys are pretty darn talented, and I kind of referenced it last night in a text message that I sent out to these guys. Some things I saw at Notre Dame was that the camaraderie and the team is coming together. They're starting to really kind of figure out the concept of playing for each other and not putting that pressure on themselves individually. To go out and have to really be great in order for our team to play well. If we have 5 guys play solid golf, we can get to where we want to go.
Why does this team get along so well?
I mean, we kind of always have. It's kind of hard to explain. I mean, we have a lot of common interests, and not just on the golf course, outside of golf too. We're all big sports fans, so I mean, for example, last night a couple of us got together to watch the baseball game, and just little things like that. It was kind of.
Now, was that a good result, or was that a bad result for some of the guys watching?
Good for some, bad for the others. So we won't say names, but yeah.
I know Rory McIlroy talked a couple years ago about how he kind of got burned out from golf and how it started to feel like a job. So with those interactions and those relationships that you guys have, how does that help make golf not feel like a job to you guys?
Well, it keeps it loose, like I mentioned earlier. I mean, we all try to have fun with it, and we don't put too much pressure on each other. We don't put too much pressure on ourselves. And I mean, there's so much laughter and joking around whenever we're on these trips, and it's just, I don't know, it's hard to get burnt out when you're surrounded by your best friends and you're having fun all the time. So,
How much do you guys actually watch golf when you're not playing golf?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Especially for the bigger events like the Ryder Cup just last week. It was a lot of fun watching that. So yeah, we definitely watch our fair
United
share
States
of golf.
Back on top.
Oh yeah, that was good to see. Very good to see.
Who's a golfer that you guys kind of look at and try to resemble your game after? Is there one, or is it kind of a multitude of guys?
For me, there's probably a lot of guys. One that comes to mind as far as like demeanor on the golf course, Jason Duffner for me, just because he's so even keel, and that's kind of what I try to resemble. You don't get too high, too low, but then with the skill set of other guys, you'd obviously love to be able to hit the ball like Rory and that kind of stuff. So,
Coach Fleck, Johnny, you guys laughed at the comparison to Jason Duffner. Is that accurate?
I don't see any resemblance between him and Jason Duffner physically, but if he starts, doing the what is it, the Duffner pose, Duffnering.
Yeah.
But
you want to exemplify that here on set?
I don't know if I can.
I guess we could get you out in front of the camera. Well, Johnny, how about you?
I mean, I'd agree with him to the point where he says Jason Duffner's demeanor on the golf course, not getting too high or too low when good or bad things happen. But I would say Jordan Spieth a lot, because even when he doesn't have his best ball striking or his best game, he always finds a way to scramble and scrap together a pretty good round. So,
how much do you admire what he's been able to do at such a young age?
It's been awesome. I mean, he's got his head screwed on straight. He knows exactly what he wants to do, how he's going to achieve it, and I think he's he's heading in the right direction, obviously.
Coach, of course you're teaching technique, but also they talk about the mental aspect of the game. How much do you teach the mental aspect of the game when you're talking with these guys?
It's really the only way that I can push them to become better. I mean, their technique is kind of what it is, and relative to breaking down stats and stuff, it always kind of revolves back to short game. But it's kind of getting them mentally prepared week in and week out to go out and try to save shots and play for each other. And they both reference the mentality. I mean, you just have to go out there and continue to play. When you get out of your comfort zone, it's figuring some things out and it's getting the job done, relative to scoring for your teammates. So it's a huge part, the mental part of it. And, we kind of work on it constantly. I try to set up practices to where it just, it challenges them to where hopefully when we do go travel and we compete, those are some of the easier things that we're doing.
Of course, I know from being out on the course, golf can be a frustrating game. More than you guys know, I'm sure. But how do you kind of stay in the mindset of, all right, move on to the next hole when you do maybe bogey or double bogey or have a bad hole?
I mean, it's kind of what we've talked about earlier this season. When you do have a bad hole, you just kind of have to hit that reset button. And you can even play little games with yourself. Say you're like 6 over through 6 holes. You can say, okay, I want to play these next 5 holes in 1 under par, or not give any shots away. And it's just doing little things like that that can save a round for you.
I think we had a great example of that at Notre Dame. I mean, scoring-wise, he's not going to like this, but he was tooling along in the middle round and made a 10 on a par 5. Just kind of got into a situation where he couldn't get out of a bunker, and he holes out and he makes a 10 and he goes to the next tee shot and pipes it, and I meet him out there in the fairway and I said, what'd you make back there? And he said 10, and I said, okay, when's the last time you shot under par making a 10? And he said, we're going to do it today. And he fought back to where, with a few holes to play, he was 1 over par, and that was, definitely a reality for him. But it's just that mentality of, like they said, just kind of staying tough and understanding that bad things may happen, but you can definitely overcome them. And if talent and attitude are right, you can go out there and turn it around pretty quick.
Yeah, still a top 10 finish for you, not bad.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You talked about how you guys watched other athletes and you guys are big sports fans outside of golf. How much do you look at maybe the mental aspect of being a pitcher, being a quarterback, and then apply that to the mental aspect of golf?
I mean, I would say they're definitely very similar. I mean, all of them, you kind of have to have a certain level of focus on what you're doing. Obviously, it's different skills, but as far as being mentally tough, yeah, I think that's kind of a trend that goes across all sports, really. So.
Johnny, for you, is that something that you pick up on as well with other sports?
Yeah, I mean, like in golf, you can't let your guard down at any second because your golf round could go sideways just in the blink of an eye. And I think that's the same way in other sports, like in baseball, a pitcher, if he makes one bad pitch, that's a run given up. Or, I mean, in football, if you make a bad throw, it's an interception and your team's in the hole there. So, I mean, you really can't lose your focus at all in a golf round. You have to stay focused all the time.
Mm-hmm. Coach, of course, with the women's program being here and Coach Moat being here for a while, how much are you guys able to bounce ideas off of each other to help improve the program as a whole?
Yeah, we talk a little bit. Obviously we break down stats and kind of look at the numbers a little bit, but in all honesty, it's so much different on the, between the two programs, relative to the yardages we play, the competition that we face. So, but it's a similar mindset that all these kids try to have when they go out and approach, playing good golf. So we do talk a lot about that, and we share information about our lineups and who's doing what or who's not doing what, and again, it's just kind of going about the process of making both teams as good as we can, from that standpoint.
Now you guys look ahead to October 23rd. You'll head out to North Carolina with a little 2-week window off here before heading out there. What's the preparation like for you guys leading up to North Carolina?
I mean, it's just kind of looking over the last couple of weeks and finding areas that need improvement and really just putting a lot of time in working on those things. And then once we get to North Carolina, it's time to tee it up and compete.
Johnny, you finished in the top 5 this weekend, but what's one thing you'd like to improve upon before North Carolina?
I definitely need to make more putts. I missed a lot of short putts, so I need to get that straightened out before this next week.
Coach Fleck, as a team, what are you looking forward to with the trip to North Carolina?
To improve on our finish. I'd like to win. You know, if the guys do their work over the next 10 days, you know, when we go down there with a good mindset and they continue to come together, you know, there's no reason why we can't go down there and compete for one of the top spots.
Guys, best of luck when you head out there, and very jealous you'll be heading out to Hawaii shortly after that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you.
Keep them off the surfboard.
Yeah, we'll try. Golf
Coach
first.
Fleck, Johnny, Michael, I'm Connor, saying so long from the Unified Media Lab. We'll be back at 12:30 next week on Facebook Live here with Ball State Sports Link.